Spring has sprung and it is time to put some fruit trees to the ground. We need to get some food growing. So I think we need to call Marcos and have him come over and clear out some land and start our food forest.
Alright, now that all the land is cleared, let's dig some holes. Look, I'm a tree.
Enough goofing off. Let's plant trees. We dug out pretty big holes. They're about 5 feet or so. And we made them squares because, hey girl, the squares create sharper edges for the roots to kind of break through. Otherwise, they're just going to circle around like a big pot because our soil's pretty dense. So we roughed up the edges here. You can see they're not straight cut edges. Also giving the roots an easier way to break into the native soil. So we want to amend this soil some. So I've got a bunch of good stuff we're going to throw into here. We're going to mix it right in the hole and mound it up in the middle here. And that's where we're going to put our bare root tree. That way the roots have somewhere to go and we can sprawl them out in any direction that we want them to go. Then we're going to mix some of our native soil with our fancy blends and we're going to fill it in. So I'm packing everything down just to make sure it's tight. We're getting rid of the air pockets and yeah, 1 tree down, 11 more to go. So this is a bare root tree and it's different from the potted trees. Obviously the roots are bare. So what we do is we make a little mound in the middle here so we can kind of sprawl the roots how I want them to go. I'm gonna try to space them out so they can get all the water available. I don't want to mess with them too much. I think we're going with that. And we're going to go ahead and throw some dirt on top of this. And you can see we're leaving an open trench around the outside, which we're going to go in and fix up after. That's just to hold water because we're in a high valley desert. So water is precious. We want it to hold and soak in slowly, and that's going to help these trees establish good roots. So all the trees were put in the ground, and we planted a lot of other things that we weren't able to film because unfortunately the weather was not great. So we thought we'd take you through and show you everything we've done so far. So here we have a North Star cherry. This was one of our potted trees, and she is so happy. So we're just going to let her flourish. So in this bed, we have some rhubarb, and we have strawberries, and I planted some asparagus roots in here. I haven't seen much come up from them yet. But one thing we did notice a lot of is these little green pieces. And I started looking into the straw that we used, and it is full of seeds. And I didn't pay attention as we were putting this down. So we're gonna have to go through and pick all these out. And hopefully it will remind us to check for straw before we use it. I've never had this problem this bad before. So right next to the first strawberry patch, I planted some carrots and some greens. You can come close, you can see the carrots. Little babies. But I'm keeping them covered. This is another cherry tree. This is the North Star cherry tree. Not too much going on with her yet, just little bits, but I don't expect much of any of these trees in their first year. You can see Dwayne dug out these berms and swales that are routing the water around all of the trees. We'll continue down here. We have plans to grow some peppers right here and some squash right here. So this one I believe is Honeycrisp. Waiting to see anything on her. We did blackberries in the middle of all of our apples because blackberries and apples tend to grow quite well together. So we're trying to allow them to do that. Back here we have a Harrelson apple tree. Here we just threw a couple of pallets together and stapled some trellis netting on there, and we're going to do cucumbers here and beans. This is the raspberry patch. So there are at least 5 different types of raspberry in here. We could have 6 types. We had a raspberry catastrophe with one of our dogs, so we had to get a second batch of them, and I'm not sure what this is. So we'll find out when it blooms, because it's either a yellow one or a red one, and then I'll know what they all are. But there's at least 5 types here. Here we have kind of an experiment. This is a combo apple tree. So there's 4 different types of apple on this tree. All of the breeds of trees that we got are bred specifically for our region and our elevation. But the combo trees, I had no idea what I was getting. So this is just an experiment to see what happens. If we get some apples off of it, great. If not, we try. So here's another bed that we started. I've got more carrots in here and some beets and some greens. We kind of left it open at the end because we're gonna carry it around this way and plant some Brussels sprouts over here later on. This tree is called a luscious pear. This is by far the biggest tree we got. I actually pruned it down quite a bit, but it has a big root system, so I felt comfortable leaving it this size, but we'll see what happens. This is our other experiment tree. This is a pear combo. So again, we're gonna see what happens with this one. I'm not expecting great results. Maybe I'll be surprised. So this one, looking at it today, is full of the grass that we have to pull out. But this is going to be mostly greens. So I have kale and I have some collard greens in here. This is another tree that's doing really well. I'm surprised by this one because it's one of our barrow trees. Usually they're focusing more on making roots, but she just wants to bloom. Summer Crisp. This is a Summer Crisp pear. This is one of the peach trees. It's a Suncrest peach. You can see the berm and swale throughout here that Dwayne did to help keep the water where it needs to stay, and that's just continuous throughout. This here is a Reliance peach. So we tried to plant at least a couple varieties of every fruit tree to assist with pollination. So this little cutie is a plum tree. It's a green gauge plum. So I'm excited to see how quickly this one grows. It's very small. Here's another plum. This is the Toka plum. I don't know anything about the plums, so we'll see what happens when they grow. So here's another patch that needs quite a bit of weeding work. This is asparagus and strawberries, and I'll be putting some basil in here a little bit later today. So this is the potato patch. I've got probably 5, I think, maybe 6 different types of potatoes in here. I seem to lose track after a certain amount of time. We're going to be putting sweet potatoes in the ground a little bit later this week. And this is all of our regular potatoes. And you'll see wood chips scattered around on the ground. We're trying to make this whole area a food forest eventually. And so we need to condition the soil. So by adding wood chips year after year and building up the organic matter, as it breaks down, the soil underneath is going to be full of nutrients and happy, ready to plant things in. So now that we got you all up to speed, we can continue to go. So keep watching for the next episodes.